is Amanda and today I have day 7 of Vlogmas, and today I will be doing a book review of My True Love Gave to Me. This is a novella collection by a number of young adult authors, and I will go through the stories individually and just briefly go through my thoughts about them and if I like them or not, basically. This review will be absolutely spoiler free, so if you have not read this book, no problem, there won't be any spoilers. And if you have read this book, I would love to hear which was your favorite story and which was your least favorite story and why. So the plan is to go through the story as I read them because I did not read them in order. And the first one I read was Midnight by Rowell, which actually is the first story. As always, Rowell's characters are just so real and believable, and the story was really cute and just holiday-ishly. That's not a word, but I'm gonna use it as one. And I really liked the first story, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. The next story I read was The Lost Story, and it was The Girl Who Woke the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. And it was a very different read. I really like Laini Taylor's writing, and it felt almost like a fairy tale to me. But I just found that I didn't care about the characters, and I didn't care about the world. And it was just very uninteresting, actually. And I gave that story 2.5 out of 5 stars. The next story I read was Angels in the Snow by Matt de la Peña, and this was one of my favorites in the entire book. It was super duper relatable, and the characters were lovely. It felt unique and fresh and not something that you stumble upon all the time, and I really liked it, and I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. So the next story I read was Your Temporary Santa by David Levithan, and it was my first David Levithan book. It was only a story, and I liked it. It was nice, it was short, and I liked the characters, but there just was something missing for me, and I just can't really put my finger on it, but there was something that just didn't reach all the way, if that makes any sense. But still, I really enjoyed it, and I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. So the next one I read was Polaris Is Where You'll Find Me by Jenny Han. I had not read anything by Jenny Han, and this one just felt shallow, empty, and I didn't particularly like the main character. But there was one moment when the main character was in Sweden, and that was just hilarious, and that was actually the really only thing that I really enjoyed in that story, and I gave it 2.5 out of 5 stars. The next story I read was another one of my favorites, and that is Welcome to Christmas, California by Kiersten White, and it was a lovely story, to be honest. It was really simple, but the characters they were fantastical. It was deep, and it just got me into the Christmas spirit so very much, and it was great. And I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars, and it was wonderful. So the next story I read was The Lady and the Fox by Kelly Link, and once again, not read anything before by this author, and this one I did not like at all. It just had nothing to it, in my opinion. It just was, and it wasn't particularly good. It was kind of boring, to be honest, and I didn't really enjoy it, and I gave it 2 out of 5 stars. The next story was Star of Bethlehem by Ali Carter. It was really enjoyable, unique, and definitely suspenseful, and I felt like I really enjoyed it all the way through. If anything, the romance was a bit forced, in my opinion, but if you just choose not to think about that, it was a really nice story, and I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. The next story was by Holly Black, and it was called KRAMPUSLAUF something, can't even pronounce that word, and I love Holly Black's writing. I think she really has that addictiveness that just you want to turn the next page and the next page and the next page, and the story just flew by. I think it conveyed a really beautiful message through a very short amount of pages, and once again this was one of my favorite stories and it was really, really good. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. The next was called Beer Buckets and Baby Jesus by Myra McEntire, and I did not like this one particularly much. I felt the romance was just really, really forced and fake, and all the interactions between the characters just felt really, really strange, and I'm not really that much into theater, and I just didn't like it. It was kind of boring, and I gave it 2 out of 5 stars. The second to last one I read was What the Hell Have You Done, Sophie ROTH by Gayle Forman. And I have read 2 Gayle Forman books in the past, enjoyed them kind of meh, but this story I really, really liked. It felt true and it felt real, and I really liked how Gayle Forman managed to write a believable character development in only such few pages, and it was fantastic. And I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. So the very last story I read was It's a Yuletime Miracle, Charlie Brown by Stephanie Perkins, the author who edited this book, so I thought it was fitting to read her story last, and I really, really enjoyed it. The dialogue in this story was just so on point. It was hilarious, so funny, and so just true, and I really enjoyed it. And it really got me into the Christmas spirit. And that was all the stories. Overall, I really, really enjoyed this book, and it really got me into the holiday spirit. Some stories definitely were better than others. I think the good ones really outweigh the bad ones, and I gave this a 3 out of 5 stars in general, and I really think it's a nice Christmas read, to be honest. And that was pretty much all I had to say for today. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up, because that would help me out a lot. Do not forget to subscribe, and I'll see all of you guys in my next video, so stay tuned. Bye!